For many decades, the P-3 Orion has remained one of the best maritime patrol aircraft in the Western world. Since its introduction in 1962, the four-engined prop aircraft has fulfilled a variety of roles spanning countless operations. Replacing the P-2 Neptune in maritime roles, the Orion was outfitted with a far superior array of technology suitable for locating, tracking, and defeating submarines. It could be outfitted with everything from torpedoes and depth charges to SLAM, Harpoon, and Maverick AGMs. Throughout its long service life, the Orions and their crews witnessed the unfolding of some of the most important events of the 20th century, first seeing use during the Cuban Missile Crisis, followed by service in Vietnam. Decades later, it flew surveillance during notable action, including the Gulf War, and later the 2001 war in Afghanistan and 2003 invasion of Iraq. Here we had the opportunity to look through a recently retired P-3 Orion of the Royal Australian Air Force. This aircraft, given to the Haas Museum in Parkes, New South Wales, is in good condition and features a fully displayed cockpit and cabin. Unlike many other public aviation displays, these aircraft are actually still in use by the RAAF, upgraded and designated AP3C, and operated out of the Edinburgh base by No. 10 Squadron. These aircraft will operate in the foreseeable future, with plans to eventually replace them with either MQ-4C Triton UAVs or P-8 Poseidons, which are often considered Boeing's true successor to the Orion.
This P-3, this one flew in here about 3 or 4 years ago. It's been on display ever since. And it is actually a spares aircraft to keep our flying P-3 in the air. So from time to time the guys come up here and take bits off this and to keep that one flying. So, but it's rather unique that it's got all that equipment inside it, which was top secret until it came out of service. There's still a couple with the Air Force, and while they transition into the new airframe that does the maritime surveillance. But the Orion took the place of the Neptune, and the black one down here is probably fairly unique. That it was built in 1951, so most of them are now beer cans in America that built at that stage. This one's still intact, and it's quite a historical aircraft because of what it did in the early stages. And we've actually had visitors coming here from Queensland, from Western Australia, to see it because they've had relatives who've operated them back in the 50s and 60s. Fairly dark in here. Our solar panel has just packed it in, so that we haven't got the LEDs inside it, but with the windows open there's a fair bit of light. But this was the Sub Hunter that followed on from Neptune's, and this particular aircraft did 60 hours in total looking for the MH370 in the Indian Ocean. It found the missing French sailor woman back in the 90s, Isabelle Ortissier, and it tracked Russian subs off Singapore, and we almost lost it in Afghanistan. And the Commonwealth Public Servant that handed the aircraft over to us said that we were lucky to get this because the War Memorial wanted this one. So it's here now, and people can actually come on board and sit in the seats and see what it was all about. But the Orion was a derivative of the Electra airliner, and it's slightly smaller, shorter, and the same wings and same larger engines and fuel capacity and so forth. So it's been, the guys that flew these and maintained them have a very high regard for them, and as we do too. So the sonar buoys were all kept in this containers here, and the operators sitting here at the consoles would have an identical panel where they sit. They'd punch in here, they want number 4 sonar buoy, number 2 tube, a couple of bags of charge to go in there as well, then it'd be standby. And then when the operator is ready, he would launch from there, and then it would shoot out and through those tubes. So the operators would then want to leave those closed for as long as possible to dissipate the smoke. But you can smell it in here. There's a cordite smell that's permeated right through the aircraft, but they'd keep them closed for as long as they could because the charge that goes out. But there's also a free fall chute there, that if they were dropping something out to drop a message to a life raft or what it might be, they'd put that brown tube inside that would then take the outside edge away from the boundary layer of the aircraft, so it would then it wouldn't be obstructed by departing the shaft down, and then and it also doubled as a vacuum cleaner with a Venturi effect to the vacuum 60-footer vacuum cleaner hose back there, and you can vacuum the whole aircraft before you land.
That's so good.
So this is the consoles, various areas operations that would take place, electronics eavesdropping, there'd be picking up sonar buoy signals and other navigation and so forth. This is the keyboard, and that's the mouse, and that would the operator be there doing that. They'd all be in communication with each other and through the intercom system, and they'd be conducting operations and carrying out surveillance and doing what they've got to do. So all this was pretty well top secret, and even dependents couldn't go on board the aircraft when they were at their base in Adelaide. And when we took our flying P3 to Adelaide, there was a queue a mile long all day of people trying to get on board the aircraft to have a look at it, because they'd watched them fly over Adelaide since 1965, and but they never get on board because of the secrecy of it. So we're rather chuffed to have one up here in Parkes, and certainly very chuffed to have one flying as well. So it was a cocoon, no windows, and all the operation was in here. There's power units inside here which could power up a small city to provide all the electricity needed to power up all these sets. So this became the sensor manager's position here. The sensor manager here would supervise what all these people here were doing, and then and further forward is the tactical coordinator, who is virtually the plane captain, looking after the mission and directing what these people should do down here. So the tactical coordinator would then signal through to the navigator, who sat on this side. Then the navigator would work out a course and advise the captain, the plane captain, to fly that course. The aircraft captain would fly the course. Flight engineer sat in between the two pilots, and once they're in position, those seats go forward, and then the engineer's got access to all those overhead panels through there. Generally, every time the Air Force went flying, there was a number of people on board the aircraft under training. So while it had 2 pilots and 2 flight engineers and all these operators through here, there was generally more people on board because it was continual training.